So last night I spent some time reading some really good stuff on propaganda and crowd psychology from the Academy of Ideas, and they did something on Edward Bernays that I thought was really, really good. And before I bore the snot out of you with that, I'm not sure I'm going to bore you with that today, but I might just pull it out. I wanted to give you one highlight from it, and that is when Freud and Bernays and all of these people did studies on groups. Now, Bernays is the father of propaganda and the father of advertising. And he wanted to know how to get people to do things. And they discovered that that men will buy cars for lots of reasons. They'll say, oh, it's the best car. But what they don't maybe want to admit, or maybe don't even know because they've been so well conned, I think, is that really they want it because it's a status symbol, or they want it because it's a chick magnet, or whatever it is, or they're going through their midlife crisis. They won't admit it, and sometimes they really don't even know. So if you want to do propaganda, you need to know the inner feelings and the real reasons, not the reasons people give you, but the real reasons. And to get those things, you have to ask the right questions, and you have to have a lot of data points. Kind of like all the data points that they're collecting on you right now through Amazon and Facebook and Google. They know everything about you. They know things about you that you don't even know. You are primed for propaganda. You are primed to be moved as a group, and that is the key. Groups. Group psychology. It comes from us needing to be in a group, and especially when we feel under attack, we want other people with us. That's why they try to divide us. They try to say you're alone, because if you're alone, you're not in a group, and that's not a safe place, Mr. Gazelle. They're going to come and the lions are going to come and get you because you're not part of the pack. And so that's almost an animal instinct in us that when we feel under attack, we want to be part of a group. But as part of a group, we act as a group and we stop critical thinking because we're under attack, and we now have this group think. And it explains why we are not thinking right now. It explains why you can say, how can you watch this and see what you're saying is happening? This is a street fair in Seattle. This is a revolution, a Marxist revolution. They see what they want to see because they've been conditioned to see it. Even those who are doing the conditioning now, the media. I want to give you an example, and you tell me where this is leading the nation. The question isn't whether Trump will go full authoritarian. Now, he may speak like a dictator. He may threaten to enact all kinds of stuff, but he has had multiple occasions to actually go away from the Constitution and enact presidential powers that wouldn't have made any of us happy. But he hasn't done it. So where's your evidence that this guy is a fascist? I want you to listen to this article. Trump, who was impeached for abuse of power and has ignored multiple congressional subpoenas, falsely declared himself a law and order president. Then he threatened violence against Americans and protesters and threatened to deploy the military on American soil to conduct local police actions over the objection of the state and local authorities. Okay, so why do we not want police action to be federal? Because once it's federalized, that's what every dictator needs. If you have a federal police force, they can help the president do whatever the president wants to do. Where if you have local, it bogs down too much. So you don't want a national police force, and you certainly don't want your military to be used as a police force unless in times of insurrection. the district isn't allowed a governor to try to protect them in Washington, D.C., as has become customary after each grotesque a new low plumbed by this administration. Media outlets and commentators scrambled to find legal justification for Trump's actions, since he did not bother to provide them himself. Perhaps, they theorized, the Insurrection Act gives Trump the top power to deploy thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers over the objection of state governors. Right-wing pundits posited that peaceful protesters should have listened to warnings before Trump sent troops galloping towards them in a hail of tear gas and fireworks. It's like we're being robbed at gunpoint and we're trying to haggle over how much money we owe the mugger. There is only one truth left to wrestle with. It doesn't matter if what Trump is doing is legal. It does not matter if what he's doing is constitutional. It does not matter because no one is going to stop him. Now, remember, you're talking to a group of lefties. They are not in critical thinking mode. They're in war mode, really. We had our chance to prosecute him. Tell me what the message is here. We've had our chance to prosecute him, but Robert Mueller decided the Office of Legal Counsel's suggestion that the president could not be prosecuted while in office was an ironclad principle. Remember that? Remember when Mueller testified that he had found 10 instances of obstruction of justice and nobody did anything because Mueller looked really old on television? No, that's not why. We had our chance to remove Trump from office, but 52 Republican senators refused to convict him or even call witnesses during their trial. Remember how the media has let every day since February 5th pass without asking people like Lamar Alexander and Lisa Murkowski to justify their craven decision to place Trump beyond accountability? Trump has been told that he can't be prosecuted and won't be removed. He's been shown that the media will repeat and amplify his message. That the media will repeat and amplify his message, even when his messages are filled with demonstrable lies that contribute to the deaths of over 100,000 Americans. He straight up refuses to acknowledge the authority of other branches of government that are meant to check his power. He has turned critics like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz into sycophants. He has convinced the opposition party to pin his hopes on a future election that may never happen. And if it does, certainly won't happen without foreign interference and industrial strength voter suppression. You got that? So if he wins, it will only be because of foreign interference and voter suppression. And nobody stopped him. Nobody's even really trying to stop him anymore. Those who wanted him stopped are kind of waiting, hoping he just goes away. Maybe on January 20, 2021, he'll just leave and we can get back to having a society. Well, we're here to tell you he won't just leave. He won't leave unless the men with guns, the armed agents of the federal government, make him leave. And this upcoming week of protest is going to tell us if there's any hope that those men will do the right thing. Right now, it looks like the men with guns will fold Trump's will just as cravenly and pathetically as everyone else. The only thing that could have stopped Trump from ordering National Guardsmen to ride down peaceful protesters and to shoot them would be the Guardsmen themselves. They could have refused to carry out the order. Instead, they marched on peaceful crowd. I expect military units will act the same. Trump is beyond the rule of law now. Republicans have placed him there, and armed men keep him there. People have to think what that means, how to stop a man who is above the law. And now they say using all of the peaceful tools, always the peaceful tools available to us. Gosh, how do you do it? Because you just told me you've used all of the peaceful tools and now none of it works. If history is a guide, there's no simple option. The only way to stop a brutish demagogue like Trump, the only way men like that ever have, is to do it the way men like him have ever been stopped. People who are willing to lay down their lives to do so. Why would you have to lay down your life in a peaceful... Not me. Let's see. He says, who's going to be our hero of Tiananmen? Or the unknown rebel who stands in front of the tanks when they come rolling through Times Square. Now, that's not all through history. That's one. He says, not me, not yet. I think I could stay in jail just long enough to get a really cool-looking tattoo, and then I'd be ready to go home. I don't know if I can give what Abraham Lincoln called the last full measure of devotion to my cause. Lots of martyrs have died in vain. Nobody has stopped Trump. I don't think any single person can. But the question is no longer whether Trump can do something. Only relevant question is, are we prepared? What are we prepared to do when he does it? How much of ourselves are we willing to give? So you have a mob in the street. You have people who are not acting rationally. You have people with guns. Remember, the first thing they did in CHAZ, or now CHOP, which I think is a salute to the French Revolution, they now build a wall. They checked IDs for everybody coming in. They issued guns for people for their own protection. So all the things that the left stands against, they're now doing. The leader of CHAZ, or CHOP, was caught on camera taking guns out of the trunk of a car and giving them to teenagers, which is also against the law. What do you think those people who just gave the speech about the French Revolution, that if you disagree, you lost your head and we're serious, this isn't a joke, what do you think those people get from that message? What do you think the people who have been getting this constant drumbeat of Orange Man bad and violence is the answer, what do you think their takeaway from that story is? By the way, it's not an isolated incident. Tom Arnold, trying to remember him. Did he play the pig on? Oh, no, he was on Roseanne, yeah. He says it's time for white liberal men to borrow their dad's hunting rifles and go nose to nose with Trump's gang of misfit tools. Really? Huh. Then last year, he published a picture of Donald Trump, said, I'm looking forward to the day I'm standing over him wearing my bullet belt and safari khakis, my carton-sized Daniel Boone buck knife in one hand and his teeny tiny tail in the other. If you think that these people are conducting a street fair and these Marxist revolutionaries aren't serious, you're sorely mistaken. You need to prepare yourself and your family to be safe, not to fight back, but to be safe. And I want you to read the essay that I put together for you last night. You'll find it now at glennbeck.com, How to Survive a Marxist Revolution. Find that commentary now, front page of glennbeck.com.